back to being an advocate for your child, or a child being an advocate for themselves, I think this is important to share. Sophia was 9 years old, pretty young. I was wanting to be in school with her the first few days, just close to the school. And I remember my doctor calling me because I was thinking it was okay to have Sophia leave the classroom and go down to the school nurse if she felt she needed to, or to take a juice. And you know what? I still say that's okay the first whatever week if you need that security. That's just personally me. But I got a phone call from my doctor, and you'd be surprised. And this is a very well-known doctor. She knows her stuff. So you know what she said to me? She basically shook me a little bit, and she's like, I want you to listen to what I'm about to say. Your child cannot leave the classroom. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? She needs to own her stuff. I'm like, she just was diagnosed. She's 9 years old. I just want to hang around because I want to know that I'm there for her. And she's like, no, you're hurting her. Children's A1Cs are far more imbalanced when they learn to be okay in the classroom.
Okay.
To test. Leaving the classroom becomes an excuse not to learn. It becomes an excuse to hide. That is a problem.
In the beginning?
In the very beginning. And I have to say, I was shocked. She called me a week in, not even a week in, and I thought that was so harsh. But you know what? It stuck with me because I wasn't necessarily, throwing her into to the wolves kind of thing. I definitely was there, but I worked very hard.
Well, how did she feel about it?
I worked really hard with her and the school nurse and our doctors, they coming up with a system that she began to get comfortable. And no problem. One of the things we did was when we were out eating dinner, she didn't excuse herself from the table to go give herself insulin. We did it right there, right out in front of everybody. It's not against the law. It's fine. We did it. It's not a big deal. And the more you can do that, it's not a big deal. The quicker you move into a place of healing and of acceptance. And at the end of the day, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Except as a parent, you worry, and as a child, they feel insecure. But it does pass. The more it becomes normalized and integrated into their everyday activities. So as I look back on this, it seems absurd, and I have to say that it probably was a little absurd. At the same time, the goal was to get to a place of acceptance, and the quicker that you could do it, the more normal your life would become, and the healthier your child would be on all levels. So one of the things that our doctors did, they had an advocate come into the classroom, and they kind of did a medical presentation on type 1, and they had a little puppet, and everyone was all into it. And then at the end they announced, guess what? Somebody in this room has type 1, and it was Sophia. So that was part of it. And it really was more like, it's not going to happen overnight, but there was an insistency in doing it, and don't delay it, because the more you delay it, because you could delay it for a year, you could delay it till high school, you could keep delaying it, and you know what? It's true. Work towards it, but holding a child's hand too much, not using the services or not using the skills, and making healthy steps in the right direction that they can be in the classroom and learn and not be afraid to address a blood sugar issue or not feel awkward. It will take time.
Yeah, but I do disagree that at the very beginning, when a child first learns that they are diagnosed with type 1, I think that they need to know for at least a week that they're not by themselves.
I don't think that was the point, but I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
It was more the point that you need to move on. We need to come up with skills. The doctors, the nurses, the school needs to get with the protocol. Protocols say the more a child accepts their diagnosis, the quicker they do, the healthier their blood sugars are, and the healthier their A1Cs are. Because there's a lot of stress and adrenaline about being fearful and feeling awkward that interrupts learning, that interrupts and affects the blood sugar. So it's not like they feel like they're left out. There's communication, there was meetings, She was allowed to leave, and she ultimately did. She was 9 years old. But the goal was, try it once, don't leave. Try it once today, see how it goes. And eventually, it became, I don't want to leave. I don't.
All right. Try it once. I'm okay
there were
with.
baby steps to move towards it, but the goal was, the sooner you can move into a place of accepting it and not leaving the classroom just because you felt low or you're too embarrassed, the better off you are, because down the road it's a lot harder to break a bad habit. And it is proven that children that do that, their academia suffers, and social and emotionally they end up hiding when they feel awkward around anybody. Not even about the blood sugar, it's an excuse to move away and hide, and that is not good for anybody, to not feel like as soon as you feel nervous about a test, my blood sugar is low, and they leave. That is not good, and believe me, so it happens.
Oh, no, I'm sure it does happen, but
Yeah.
I think you're talking about the onset, the initial diagnosis.
And it was in the onset. She called me pretty
Okay.
early on, and it was like, wow, okay, this is what we need to work on. And we worked on it, and it probably took 6 months to feel like we made a good amount of progress.
Okay.
And we knew it was the goal, and we had many meetings about it, and we kind of figured it out. But honestly, I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad it was brought to my attention early on, because I knew that ultimately, if we could get there in a safe way and a way that we all could communicate, that she'd be healthier, and I would feel more comfortable too.